Good morning, brothers. My name is Noah Tejas. I am your Assistant Collegiate Province Representative for Province 22, West Coast, Best Coast. So I hope you're all doing well. I hope you're all safe at home. I hope you're all staying sanitized and clean, and I'm also hoping you're staying healthy. As we've mentioned, we at the province level are trying to keep Symposium going, and we're doing this little video series to help keep that and keep you all informed. So today, my topic is going to be on recruitment and retention. And I know it's not really on people's minds right now because we're all pretty much all online. But once we come back to our universities and once we really are a little more secured back into our normal lives, this can be something to talk about. Or this can be something to consider for this time while we're just at home. So let's get on with that. In terms of how you do these, in terms of how do you get events, how do you get people interested? Well, you need to see where you want to ask first. Typically, we always ask our new to the college, so our new freshmen or our new transfers who may have little to no information about the fraternity. I think we're in a time right now where a lot of band directors, choir directors, a lot of teachers out there, just a lot of influential people are symphonians. So some people come to our schools and they know of that. They know the names, they know people who are probably our alumni, and from there they kind of have an interest in what we're about. But apart from that, how do you bring someone in who is new to college, who is new to being on their own and looking to fit in? Well, let's do some official things. We all have those times where we have our week-long, 2-week-long, however long rush events. So some ideas are typically, have a barbecue, weather permitting, have some sort of activity day where it's, may not all be the most athletic, but something where we can go out, go to a park, hang out, play games wherever. Popular ones are also game nights. We all love video games, so those are very good to know. Those are very good to bring in people who are interested, because that also helps break down those barriers of I don't know these guys, so I'm just gonna stay away, or I'm just gonna tread very lightly. Stuff that really appeals to everyone. And through the game nights I've seen and been a part of, they're very successful. Plus, always having food at these events is almost a surefire way to get people there. So apart from that, you can do things like I've seen hikes becoming more popular. I've seen a few chapters include stuff like mini golf, and I think that's a smart idea. But just things that don't have to be music, don't have to be the hustle and bustle of what we do every day. You can do things like collaborate with your other music organizations, collaborate with small informational nights where it's just get a bunch of food, crowd into one room and say, here's who we are, show off by, performing a song, performing a serenade. A lot of different ideas, a lot of different concepts to try. Other parts you can try to include are philanthropy. Right now, it may not be, we're not allowed to, but you can say, well, we just did our Mills Music Mission. Oh, well, what's that? And that's a conversation you can have with that person or those people and say, here's what the mission's about, here's what we do. Here's what the whole fraternity is about. Because it's not just our chapter. It's not just who we are. There's a bigger level than what you're seeing right now. And some people need that. There's a good number of active members in my chapter, I know, and other chapters I've been to, where the music missions were a big selling point. And it's rightfully so. It's not just a gig. It's an act of service that we do for the fraternity and we do as musicians. And to some, they're really going to enjoy that. And some who really want to push that forward. So let them know that. Let them know what they want. Apart from that, there's also, smaller non-official things. You don't have to, recruitment doesn't always just have to be an official night. I've had a lot of, from my FEO when I pledged years ago, one big thing was recruitment starts yesterday. Recruitment isn't tomorrow we're going to start recruiting, tomorrow I'm going to need to think about what I want to think of all the new guys. No. Always think about everyone coming in, because you're going to have those guys who had interest, showed up to a few nights, and then say, I don't think right now is a good time for me. And that's fine. But always be thinking, who can make a good symphonian for my chapter? Because when you really think about it, why do you want to recruit? You want our chapters to grow, yes. You also want our chapters to flourish. You want your chapter to continue to do work and to continue to be a healthy chapter after you leave, after you're an alumni for a year, after you're an alumni for 5 years, after you no longer have any real reason to be with your university. You want to know that your chapter is still there. So, a lot of different reasons. Always be on the lookout. A good way that I've seen have a lot of work and a lot of positive outcome is just something small. Something like, hey, you want to get lunch, or do you want to do this after rehearsal, or hey, yeah, you had some questions about Sinfonia. Do you want to, get some coffee and go talk about it? A lot of my friends who have a lot of my active brothers in my chapter who have pledged or who are currently pledging started initially as, I'm curious about the fraternity. Can I ask you some questions? Sure. They want to know because that's potential interest. They want to know, so tell them what you can. Don't tell them everything, but let them be curious. Let them know. And you should be that one in saying, hey, I'm more than willing to sit down with you and ask. It doesn't have to be, come to this night. It doesn't have to be, make your schedule open for the next 3 hours. It could be sitting down, waiting for rehearsal, or it can be sitting down, getting food, and so what did you do? So how did you get involved in Symphonia? What was this process like? What's it like to get in? A lot of these things, at which we'll get to, should be getting to very momentarily, because once you and your chapters think of what events you want to do, how you want to do it, you need to think why. Because you can say, hey, you like video games? Come into this game night. We'll have food, we'll have games, stuff like that. Okay. Why should I join Sinfonia? Because you may get that person who will, instead of asking you questions, will say, why should I be a part of it? And now you gotta really think, well, why? Why should you? Why am I in it? Why are we here? So this next part is going to be a little where the discussion kicks in. I will pose some questions, pose some ideas for you, and if you guys are watching this on a Zoom meeting, since we all transferred to Zoom University by now, or you're in a group somewhere, or if you're on your own watching this, I'll kind of mention points where you can pause the video and kind of really think and reflect on the words I have to say, and which ultimately will be your responses to potential members. So with that, let's talk about the why. Why join Sinfonia? Okay. Some people aren't going to know, again, why they want to join. Because when you outside looking in, it's okay, these guys want me to join. Well, then you have 10 active members constantly talking to this one person and saying, hey, you should join. And for someone, again, if it's someone who's new to the school, having 10 almost complete strangers kind of crowd up on you over the course of a night or course of the week and kind of say, hey, join. Can be a little scary, can be a little intimidating. So, and everyone's not going to know why they want to join yet. Once they learn more about the fraternity, and if you decide to pin them and let them go through a process, then they can kind of develop that sense of why. You, on the other hand, or us on the other hand, have had a year, X amount of time in our chapters and in our fraternity, knowing why we do this. So it's always important to know why you want to do it. And a lot of that could be start of a conversation. I joined Phi Mu Alpha because blank. And I'll let you pause this right now and saying, I joined Phi Mu Alpha Sinfonia because what? Cool. So hopefully you've thought of that. Hopefully you've shared it or written it down somewhere. Because ultimately it's not just for you guys to share, it's for your future of the chapter. But some points thing about that too is, what about this fraternity, what about this chapter stood out to you? Because your only knowledge, anyone's basic knowledge of Phi Mu Alpha is going to be their chapter, the chapter that is at their school. So things to notice are, this stood out to me when I was interested, or the fraternity did this and I wanted to find out more. Additionally, what did you want to get out of it? What did you want to get out of this chapter? Was it connections, networking? Was it friends? Was it mentorship? What was it? You need to decide as an individual active member and kind of think, well, here's what I got out of it. Let me share that with you. And again, that's going to help, have these potential members gauge their interest and start thinking like, okay, well, he got this out of it, he got this out of it. For me, to give you an example, when I left high school, I was pretty dead set on doing music. I had my beliefs about the power of music and why it's good and why it's beneficial to bring people together, to really heal us in times where we may need it, both on the actual musical sense, but on the social sense. I was really able to develop and grow as a person in my high school band and in my high school choir. And a lot of that was thanks to music, being involved in some kind of music program. So once I got to college, once I got to Cal State Fullerton and found out that there was a whole group of guys who shared that same idea, those same ideas, that same interests, that really stood out to me, and that was something that I wanted to pursue. And find out more and hopefully be a part of, which was good. That was something I wanted to see. However, I was also very closed off and very introverted, and I was, in a way, drafted into my chapter. I had a very close friend and brother of mine kind of pull me along to the events, and of course, it was intimidating because my first 2 weeks into school and I'm already going to a fraternity event for nothing I have no idea about. So it's, again, there is that nervousness, there is that very sense of hesitation, but give it time, really ease into the fact that we are not, end of the day, we're a bunch of music guys, or we're, with all due respect, kind of a bunch of nerds who like to hang out, play games, and do music, or whatever your chapter likes to do the most. And that's fine. That's really fine, because we all have that culture within us. But it's really a matter of thinking about your story, your process of being interested in Phi Mu Alpha, and then how you got in, or what led you to pursue and want to get in, want to be involved. So again, take this moment, kind of pause the video right now, and kind of think, what's your story? How did you as an individual get to be here? If you're wearing letters, if you have your shingle, if you are fully initiated, what led to you from day one of being interested to your initiation? So go ahead and pause that right now and think about it. Even when we're not working, I still need coffee. All right. So hopefully you've come back by now. If you're still talking, great. It's always a good thing to discuss. But yes, review your time. Review your process, and we'll get to that in a second. But review you leading up to, how did you hear about it? Who were some influential symphonians in your life? They could be professors, they could be middle high school teachers, they could be other people, they could be famous celebrities, they could be a lot of different people. How did you start hearing about the fraternity, and how did that lead you to wanting to know about that chapter at your school, and then where you are now? because truthfully, if someone told me, if I knew that I would be joining a fraternity in college, I would not, I wouldn't give it the time of day. I never thought I would. And then eventually I became president, I became FEO, I became historian. I worked for my fraternity, more things I didn't expect, but there was still enjoyment in there. So really reflect on that. Reflect on your interests and how you got to be pinned, how you got to be involved. Review the themes, review a lot of the aspects of the themes, the ideals. Review, we have time, so if you can, reread your themes back to front. Really get a feel for it. Get a feel for what you learned. Apart from that, kind of reflect on who you are, who you were when you joined, when you were interested, and who you are after. There's a lot of personality things that are, different personality quirks and traits. Other people will latch on to that. I am very kind of to myself, kind of introverted. So when I've had a lot of brothers when I was interested being more extroverted and being like, hey, you should come to this, come to this, come to this, I appreciated it, but it was also a lot for me. When I've had other brothers who were, a little more laid back, a little more quieter, we just sit and talk about it. Those were ones where, we really got to know each other more and we really got to solidify a good connection. And everyone's different. Everyone's going to be different. Every potential member is going to be different. But that doesn't mean you have to change your whole idea of who you are. Just still learn who they are, learn who you are, and learn how that could help bring them in. Because once you're here, we're all kind of unified under the fraternity. And by the time they're almost done and going to be initiated or fully active, you had a good bond grow already. So there's good aspects of that, but really think back to everything. Think back to why you're doing this, why if you have an officer position in your chapter, either had before or have one now, think, why are you doing it? Why are you working for this fraternity? Why are you still here? Why are you involved? And we're going to go into retention very quickly. So again, take the time, pause the video, think about all these things, think about your why. Additionally, think about what can you say about Symphonia, what can you say about your chapter. If you had, it's like an elevator pitch. You have 30 seconds before you move on. You say, so for instance, say you're in rehearsal with someone and they have questions about fraternity. They have questions about everything we do. And you don't have the time, neither of you have the time after rehearsal, or you probably go to work after you have class and you're not free until the next day. If you had 30 seconds to say, here's what we are, here's what we do as a chapter, here's what we do as a fraternity, and give them something to think about. Give them a lot of information or a fair amount of information within a short amount of time, so that the next time you see them, or whenever either you are free, you can say, hey, so you mentioned this, you mentioned the music missions, you mentioned all this, we work with the school and do this. Can you tell me a little more about that? Or whatever questions they have. Give them something to think about, let it digest over like a day or two, and then come back, check up on them. But yeah, go ahead, pause this video, wrap those thoughts up, think about your why. What can you say about your chapter or your fraternity, and why? Why are you doing it? Why should this person join? So go ahead and pause. Okay, so we're going to shift gears a little bit. We're going to talk about retention. Retention, how do you keep them? So you've now gone through weeks, at least on our end, we've gone through way longer than just the few rush event days or the few times you hung out with potential members. We've gone through weeks of, thought. We've gone through weeks of planning of we need this event, this time, this much food, this is what we're doing, this is, we're detailing everything. But all that work comes into fruition, we get to pinning, and you pin X amount of guys. Cool. Now you have a pledge class, now you have your probationary members. Now what? You put all this time in getting them, so you got them. Okay. So what do we do from there? Well, we know that the end goal is, okay, we see this potential in you to be a symphonian. We want to see you get initiated. Okay. What do I do? And then that's when the learning begins. That's when your process begins. So the main thing that especially newer students to school are going to face is struggle. All our probationary processes are different in their own way, and our members are going to struggle with balancing the process of joining a fraternity, balancing schoolwork, balancing work, balancing rehearsals, balancing personal life. And it's going to be tough. It's definitely going to be tough for some, and depending on everyone's situation, some are going to have more of a struggle than others. Well, how do you make sure that they stay? Well, you all went through your own probationary process in your chapters. So if you have a PM who's struggling, their best outlet right now is you. Saying, oh, this person is struggling with this aspect. I should help them. Yes, you should. We're all going to know different aspects of the struggles we all face. So, if they're feeling burnt out, if they're feeling overwhelmed, you can say, hey, you and I, let's talk about this. Big brothers especially can really sit with their little brothers and say, hey, how are things going? Really checking in on them, making sure they're okay. Because it's kind of easy to say, yeah, go do a process and I'll see you in a few months. These are guys who are going to be brothers. Should everything play out, they'll be fully initiated brothers by the end of it. And you want to, show that you care, show that you want them to be here. And again, it doesn't have to be an official, we're having a meeting, you're going to tell me everything you're doing, everything that's good, everything that's bad. Go. No. It can be, hey, how are you doing? How are you doing in this class? How are you doing at home? How are you doing with work? Checking in. It's the little things like that that make a lot of difference to people and to show that you care. Because yes, we do put our probationaries through a lot, depending on what we do with the process, and it can be a lot, and it can be taxing. But remembering that we care about them and their well-being, not just how much can they handle, how much can we poke fun with them until they're initiated. Always show that you care, always be there for them. Be there for your brother, even if they're not an official brother. Apart from that, remember that this can be a two-way thing that we'll discuss shortly. Remember that they are there for a purpose. Remember that they said yes to wanting to be pinned. They said yes to undergoing this process. So check in with them and saying, hey, why did you want to join? Maybe a week in or a month in. Why did you want to join this fraternity? Give them some time to think about it and, I wanted to join because of this. And, I wanted to do more. I wanted to be involved with music missions. Okay, what have you done? What have you done to do that? What have you done to reach out to the community? And maybe they just need that little help. They need that little push of like, oh yeah, this is why I'm doing it. Because, we all get to that point in our semesters where it's, you get to school, you go through the motions of all your classes, you go through the motions of work, you're on autopilot. And we don't think why we're doing it, because we're tired, we're burnt out, or it's midterms, or it's finals, and it's a lot of different things that we deal with. So sometimes we forget why we do these things. And this is important for not only probationaries, but for us. why are you still in this process to become a Symphonian? Why are you still a Symphonian? Why are you still active in your chapter? Why? Going back to why. Why are you doing these things? And remembering why you do it. So, here's another instance. If there's an instance where some brothers or you watching this are feeling burnt out or have felt burnt out or have probationaries who have left because they've been burnt out or kind of dragged them through the end of the process because they felt burnt out, think about that right now. Think about why. Why are you feeling this way? So pause the video, take how much time you need. Okay, so again, retention is important for once they're pinned, once they go through a process, but even once they're active. Once they're fully initiated, and even if they are currently you now, once they stay, because again, the goal for recruitment is bring new guys into the fraternity, and that'll bring a fresher face, that'll bring younger members, and that'll help our chapters grow and sustain for years. And if you have a problem where all these guys leave after a year or two because they just don't want to, then it's a big problem. We want our chapter to stay, and we don't want anyone to go inactive. We don't want our chapters to go inactive because there's not enough people. We want to keep everyone going. And we're all going to have our struggles. We're all going to face difficulty. But, the biggest thing about retention is remembering we're not alone. Being there for each other, being there for each other right now. Reach out to brothers you haven't talked to. Reach out to anyone. Remember, give people a notice that you still care and that there's someone out there for you. Still keep them involved, give them a reason why they want to be in Symphonia, why they want to be in your chapter, why they said, I want to join for this reason, and you as a chapter said, yes, pin this man, and now they're here. Same thing, if it's you who's feeling this way, think about it. Really think why. Why are you still doing this? Why did you take up this officer position for the next year? Why are you doing this? Why did you plan this event? Why are you doing a lot of these things? Share that with each other. Remember why. Retain and treasure in your hearts why you did these things, why you're still here, why you are still wanting to work for this fraternity, and why you still want to participate in this fraternity and in your chapter. But apart from that, this is going to wrap up everything we've talked about. So really, again, take this time, re-listen to this video, think of these things that I talked about. If you have any other questions, feel free to reach out to myself or to anyone in the province. Really start talking with each other again. Start talking with your friends who had that slight interest in Phi Mu Alpha before the whole pandemic happened. Start talking to the other brothers who may have kind of just been feeling lonely. Start talking and start reflecting. Really, really remember why. Really take this time to find yourself. So once we do go back, and hopefully it's in the fall for everyone, we can, come back and be ready to go. But that'll be it. That'll be it for this video. We're going to be putting out more for this series throughout the rest of the few weeks. Like the video, subscribe. Remember to hit that bell so you can get notified of any kind of other information or when we update. And yeah, stay safe, brothers. Stay healthy. Goodbye.